What's up, guys? Gonna go ahead and show you guys a new project that I'm currently working on. I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I got to this point where I decided to purchase this project. First, if you guys have been following my channel, you guys know that I drive a 5th gen 4Runner. Beautiful vehicle, I love it. I wouldn't want to replace it for anything. But one of the biggest draws that I have at this time is that I am out of room. I just recently had a new son. He is a year and a half now, so we're starting to do a lot of camping. And what I noticed on my last camping trip was that I could not bring much stuff into my truck because I just have too much stuff. Not only our stuff and camping stuff, I also have his stuff that I need to bring now. So I'm just completely out of room and I just didn't have a lot of options. So one of the options that I had is to upgrade vehicles. Now, as far as the market and where everything is, there's only two vehicles that I personally would upgrade to for more room, which is going to be, first of all, the Toyota Sequoia, which I would only want the TRD Pro, and it's pricey. So that's one option to get a bigger rig. The other option is possibly the Lexus GX 550. I kind of like the way that looks as well. But again, it is pricey and it doesn't really give me a ton of extra room, which I need. So it got me thinking onto why I want to possibly get a trailer. So I also have a iCamper rooftop tent. Now, I've had that rooftop tent for over 4 years now. I absolutely love it. Biggest problem with that rooftop tent and my lift is I can no longer fit into the garage spaces any longer. I think I'm almost at 8 foot high, so very, very low garage spaces that I can go under now. So it would be nice to be able to take off that rooftop tent to put it on a trailer. The other thing as well that I really wanted the trailer with is I also have a dog. Now, my dog used to always go camping with us every single trip, and I love having him around. Now, with my son, unfortunately, I have to sacrifice and not bring my dog. So it not only limited my camping experiences, but I just can't overall bring him. I wish I could keep him into the rear trunk of my vehicle and just give him that whole space, but I have a fridge there. So he literally has a small 20 by 40 inch space there, which is really uncomfortable, especially for a long ride. So I decided I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade and get a trailer to work on. I didn't want to get anything fancy or anything too expensive. I wanted to go ahead and build it out the way I wanted to. Now, as far as the trailers and what I was looking for, I started looking for trailers, military trailers that is, and I wanted the M1101s. There's 1102, I believe, but after research, they're actually very, very big. They're heavy, they're bulky, and I just didn't need that much space, even though they're priced pretty well on marketplaces like Facebook and OfferUp. I just wanted something a little bit smaller. So when a friend suggested that I look into the M416 military trailer, after some extensive research, I thought this is going to be the one for me. It is not only lightweight, but it should be able to hold everything that I want it to be and also be able to easily make the upgrades. Now, these were a little bit difficult to find in the market. I think there's only like 2 or 3 available for sale in California, so you really have to do a lot of digging. But I was fortunate enough to find a pretty good deal, which I feel like was a good deal, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. So again, there was one that I wanted to get. It was a much cheaper, but it was up north. I think it was like 6 hours up north, and it was in pretty bad condition. I saw some cutouts. I think the metal was rotting. I just didn't want to really drive up that far just to end up with something that I didn't want. So after some research, I found one on Facebook Marketplace that I thought was a pretty hidden gem. The seller had really terrible photos. You couldn't even see the trailer. It was in his garage with a ton of stuff on it. He just took little corner snapshots of it. So I know that he didn't have a good photo, didn't have good exposure to it, and I would possibly be able to score a pretty decent trailer. Now, after talking with the seller, I found out that he was also an overlander that just never got a chance to build his dreams out of a trailer. So it's just an overall good opportunity for me to get it, especially with the trailer being in his garage for over 6 years. It's inside the garage, so you know that it doesn't have a lot of or minimal rust. It's just not sitting there, It's actually in a house garage. To me, it was a gem when I went to check it out because it was everything that I wanted. Minor things were broken on it or need some fixing, but I'm gonna be rehauling this anyways, so I thought that it's not gonna be a deal breaker for me. So let's go and take a look at the trailer, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about some specs, and then I'm gonna talk about what I plan to do, and I'm also open for some ideas. So if you guys have any experience with this trailer or have any ideas of what I could do with it, I'm all ears for it because I've never done a trailer like this, and I'm just excited to be able to get my hands dirty on doing some work here. Now, when I take this tarp off of this trailer, now keep in mind it's not the most prettiest thing that you've ever seen, but to me, I think that after some work, it's gonna turn out exactly the way that I want it to turn out. So don't be shocked when you see this pile of mud that I'm about to unravel for you guys. So let's go ahead and get that going. All right, so here it is. Here is my chocolate green trailer. Again, I'm gonna show you some closer look at this trailer, but let's talk about the brief specs. So I got these specs off of ChatGPT. I could not tell you how helpful ChatGPT is, especially with getting a trailer, knowing what fits, needing to know what dimensions are, needing to know what the lug patterns is. Any questions that you may have, man, ChatGPT it's pretty crazy. If I had to do all these research myself without ChatGPT, I would have to reach out to a lot of fellow sellers and research off Google myself and have conflicting information. So it is really nice to be able to get a source with really good information that covers everything that I want to cover in this. So let's talk a little bit about the M416 trailer. They manufacture from different companies like Stevens, Johnson Furnace, and others. I really don't know who manufactured this. I do have some data plates here, but it is all worn out. You can barely tell what it is, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that as well. That's kind of what I used to nail down the price a little bit more. Now, these were produced in the 1960s to 70s. They were used in the military during that time. It has a payload capacity of 500 to 750, although it's definitely going to be able to handle more once I make my improvements on this. It is very sturdy though. Total weight empty is between 550 to 670, so not a very heavy trailer. I can actually lift this with one hand, move it around wherever I want it to go. It's really not like one of those M1102 or 01s that weigh about 1,500 pounds dry. This is lightweight. Overall length is 108 inches. Overall width is 60 inches. The cargo box dimension here is 72 inches long. You've got 40.5 inches wide and 18 inches in depth. So that's a pretty nice size cargo that it has. It has a solid axle with some leaf springs that I'll show you later on. A 5 by 5.5 lug patterns for Jeep wheels. I'm going to be replacing this to match my TRD wheels, so it's going to change to the 6 lug pattern in the future. I'm not going to do the axle or anything like that. Leaf suspension does have some shocks. Shocks seem a little bit blown out. I might have to replace that, which should be an easy fix. There's no factory brakes included in this trailer, but there is manual handbrakes on some, and this one does have a manual handbrake, but unfortunately it's not working either, and I'm probably not going to be using this brake system. Now, as far as the tub, it is supposed to be waterproof, allowing it to float while you're crossing if everything is sealed properly. There is a bunch of holes on here, and it was very, very difficult when I tried to power wash the center. So I really don't love it being sealed. I'm eventually probably going to do a tailgate mod so that I can start moving things in and out of the tailgate, possibly move the fridge kitchen system that I have in my 4Runner directly back here. So that's my goal. There's no tailgate. Having no tailgate is actually supposed to strengthen this as well, so that's supposed to be a good thing. Now, as far as the hitch in the front, it's actually a pinto hitch ring, which works well for off-roading. It articulates a little bit better than other hitches, but I personally don't like the pinto hitch. Even though it was quiet, it didn't move around a lot. I've heard bad things about it, and the pinto hitch receiver that I purchased off of Amazon recently had a bunch of cracked photos of the hitch. And so I'm a little bit skeptical of that, especially if I'm going through some trails and I'm going to be climbing some back roads. I don't want any parts of it failing. So I'm probably going to be changing out to a lock and roll hitch. That's probably going to be one of the most expensive things that I'm going to be buying for this, but I do need to get that done so that I can take this off-road and know that it is not going to snap on me, and it's going to last. Now, let's talk about the variations of this. So I didn't know this, but there's actually an M416A1, which has slight modifications to the trailer. I don't know exactly what, but there is some modifications. I believe this is just a regular 416. I could be wrong. And let's talk about modifications that I'm going to be doing. Let's get this out of the way. Let's take a closer look and let's talk about some mods. All right, guys, let's look at the Pinto hitch. This is it. Very sturdy. It's already got a, I don't know if this is upgraded, but they definitely changed this to a 4-plug. So it does plug right into the 4Runner. I didn't have to do anything except get an adapter when I purchased this. It does come with 2 chains on the side. Now, these chains are a little bit short for my vehicle, so I do need to swap that out as well, but that should be easy. I just need to grind this out, replace it with a new one, and I should be good to go. Again, this is the handbrake that's here. Now, first look at the paint. Guys, it looks like poop. It looks pretty terrible. It's been basically sprayed with different inks or paint, layer over layer. I was able to take out some of these chips earlier when I was using my pressure washer with a 15-degree angle, but it doesn't come off all the way. One option is to use a paint thinner and try to get rid of it. The other way is to paint over it, which I don't think is going to be a good option because it's just going to add on to another layer here. So I think I'm going to be taking an angle grinder with a flywheel. I'm just going to go through the whole unit. It's going to take me a good amount of time and elbow grease to do this, but I think overall it's going to be really worth it at the very end. So I'm going to be definitely getting that grinded off. These are the 5-lug pattern wheels, still in pretty good condition. I was able to also get the original military wheels that came with it, so that's a nice feature. But I'm going to be swapping this out to, again, a 6-lug. Just going to do a simple conversion kit, and that's going to be able to fit my TRD wheels on there. I'm not going to be running a spare because I'm going to have one for my 4Runner. Here are the leaf springs, and there's the axle, solid axle. A bit of surface rust, nothing too concerning. You've got these OEM lights here that do not work. So the previous person actually installed these lights right here that work, but they're kind of fugly, so I'm probably most likely going to be swapping them out, but they do work. You've got a OEM jerry can holder here. Not sure what I want to do to that one, but this is the tailgate that I'm probably going to be doing a mod for so that I can move this up and down and close this. Right now it's just nothing but an empty rust bucket of dirt and debris, and it's hard to clean off actually. So I pressure washed some of this, but there's nowhere for this to go. So I'm going to try to flip this around, pressure it from the underneath to get rid of all the debris. This is the other side. This side's a little bent right here, so I just need to bend that back. Here is some of the data sets. See, you can't see anything anymore. Everything's been too old. 1960s, 1970s. This is the other, this is where it shows the chassis and information here, which is also very hard to read. So what I'm going to do is not only the wheels, I'm going to grind this off. I actually plan to put a my rooftop tent on top of this, but with that said, I'm going to need a roof rack. So I'm going to be using a Hooke roof rack, or a Hooke roof rack. So I'm going to show you guys that once I receive it, but that should be a really good addition for me to put the rooftop tent on top of. I'm possibly going to be extending this so that I can jackknife it. Also be able to extend the tongue a little bit so that I can put a tongue box here with some electronics, rooftop tent. I'm still debating on the color, but I'm gonna go ahead and bedline the inside first. And if it turns out well, I'm gonna do the back. And then I'm gonna do the tailgate mod, maybe fix some of the electrical, possibly put a water tank that he also included here. This is super heavy right here, but it would be nice to have some running water to wash with. So I'm probably gonna put that underneath here. Thanks for following along so far in the video. I hope you guys subscribe so that you guys can see me get this thing built out. If you have any questions, let me know, even suggestions. I would love to hear your input. This is gonna be a new project for me, and I could use all the help that I can.